Marcus was a quiet and humble man who always believed in hard work and family. He lived in a small town with his wife, Laura, and their 5 beautiful children. Life wasn't easy, but he never complained. Every morning, before the sun came up, Marcus would kiss his wife on the forehead, whisper a small prayer, and head to the auto shop where he worked long hours fixing cars. He dreamed of one day owning his own garage, a place where his children could grow up learning the value of honest work. In the early years of their marriage, Marcus and Laura were happy. They laughed, shared simple meals, and held hands while sitting on their porch. But as time went by, bills began to pile up. The roof leaked every time it rained. The kids needed clothes for school, and sometimes there wasn't enough food to go around. Marcus worked harder than ever, taking double shifts and repairing cars late into the night. Laura started feeling lonely and tired of struggling. She missed the carefree girl she once was and began to blame their problems on the life they had built together. Marcus noticed her sadness but didn't know how to fix it. He thought if he worked harder, he could make her happy again. But his long hours meant less time at home, and the little moments they once shared began to fade away. Their conversations became short and cold. Laura stopped smiling at him, and he often found her sitting silently by the window, staring into the distance. Then, one gray morning, everything changed. The children were still asleep when Laura quietly packed her bags. She walked into the kitchen, took a small piece of paper, and wrote only a few words. "I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore." She placed it on the table beside the coffee cup Marcus had left before going to work. Without looking back, she walked out of the house. When Marcus returned home that evening, he was tired but hopeful. He had saved a little extra that week and planned to surprise Laura with her favorite meal. But when he stepped inside, the house was silent. He saw the note, read the words, and felt his heart sink. His hand shook as he sat down at the table. For a few minutes, he just stared at the empty chair across from him. Then he heard small footsteps. His youngest daughter, Lily, appeared in the doorway, holding her stuffed bear. "Daddy, where's Mommy?" she asked softly. Marcus's eyes filled with tears, but he forced himself to smile. "Mommy had to go somewhere for a while," he said gently. That night, after tucking the children into bed, he sat alone in the dark living room. The sound of rain hit the roof, and the note lay beside him. He could have been angry, but he wasn't. Deep down, he knew that love didn't mean holding someone back. The days after were hard. The children asked questions he couldn't answer. He had to learn things he never thought he'd need to know: how to braid hair, how to make pancakes, how to fix torn dresses and broken hearts. Every morning, he woke up before dawn, prepared breakfast, packed lunches, and walked the kids to school before heading to work. When he came home, he helped with homework and read bedtime stories until they fell asleep. He was exhausted, but he never stopped trying. Some neighbors whispered about him. They said a man couldn't raise 5 kids alone. But Marcus didn't listen. He smiled politely and kept moving forward. He reminded himself every day that his children were watching him, learning from him. He wanted them to see strength, not sadness. Jamal, his oldest son, tried to act grown up. He helped his dad with chores and looked after his younger siblings. But sometimes, at night, Marcus could hear him crying quietly. One evening, Marcus walked into Jamal's room and sat beside him. "You miss her, don't you?" Marcus asked softly. Jamal nodded. Marcus put his arm around him and said, "It's okay, son. We can miss her and still keep going. That's what love does. It keeps moving, even when it hurts." As months passed, Marcus began to find purpose again. He started fixing cars in his own backyard to earn extra money. Neighbors who couldn't afford repairs came to him for help. Sometimes they paid with food, sometimes with nothing at all, but he never turned anyone away. Word spread about the kind man who helped everyone, and slowly his small side job grew. Even when life was heavy, Marcus never let bitterness take root. On Sundays, he took his kids to church and taught them gratitude. He told them, "We can't control who stays or who leaves, but we can always choose kindness." The children grew up watching their father treat people with patience and respect, and it shaped who they became. Years rolled by, and Marcus's backyard business became a real garage. He named it Faith Family Auto Care. His customers loved him, not just for his skill, but for his honesty. He hired a few young men from the neighborhood, giving them a chance to learn and earn. He often said, "If someone gave me a hand when I was struggling, I wouldn't have fallen so hard. So now it's my turn to give." Every wall in the small office was covered with pictures, birthday parties, school graduations, Christmas mornings. Each one showed smiling faces, but Laura's was never there. The kids sometimes asked about her, and Marcus always gave the same gentle reply, "She's still part of our story. We don't have to be angry. We just keep loving her." 10 years passed. The children were grown now strong, kind, and proud of their father. Jamal managed the garage, and Lily helped with customers after college. Their home was filled with laughter again. Marcus had gray in his beard and a few wrinkles on his face, but his eyes still held the same calm warmth. One summer afternoon, as Marcus wiped grease off his hands, a car pulled up to the garage. It was a silver sedan he didn't recognize. The door opened, and a woman stepped out. Her hair was shorter, her face older, but her eyes, those familiar blue eyes, made his heart pause. It was Laura. For a moment, the world around him went quiet. She looked around the busy shop, at the men working, the children laughing, and the big sign that read Faith Family Auto Care, a father's promise. She stood still, speechless. Her eyes filled with tears as she watched the man she once left behind. Marcus didn't move right away. He simply stared, not in anger or shock, but in quiet understanding. The years had changed both of them. The pain, the growth, the strength, all of it was standing right there in front of him. She had come back to see what he had become. He slowly walked toward her, wiping his hands with a cloth. "Lavra," he said softly. Her voice trembled when she replied, "Marcus, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect any of it." And in that moment, she realized the truth. While she had been searching for something better, Marcus had built something beautiful. Not out of bitterness, but out of love. Laura's hands trembled as she stepped closer to the garage. She had left Marcus and the children 10 years ago, thinking she was following her own path. But seeing them now, grown and thriving, filled her with a mixture of awe and regret. The garage was alive with laughter and warmth, a far cry from the empty house she had left behind. Everywhere she looked, there were signs of a life Marcus had built on strength, love, and faith. Marcus approached her slowly, his face calm and kind. He didn't scold her, didn't ask why she had left. He only said, "You're here now." Those words carried no anger, only acceptance. Laura felt tears slip down her cheeks. She wanted to speak, to apologize, but the words stuck in her throat. The children, now young adults, slowly gathered around. Jamal, the oldest, stepped forward and hugged her first. "Hi, Mom," he said softly. One by one, the others joined, holding her close. Their warmth made her heart ache. She realized how much she had missed birthdays, school events, graduations, and countless small moments that had shaped their lives. For the next few minutes, silence hung in the air. Marcus's calm eyes watched her, not with judgment, but with understanding. He had spent a decade raising these children on his own, shaping them into kind, responsible, and loving young adults. He had worked endless hours, built a successful garage, and never let bitterness take root in his heart. Laura felt a mix of guilt and admiration. She had left thinking she was seeking freedom, but Marcus had found a deeper strength in their absence. Over the next few days, Laura began visiting the garage more often. She helped in small ways, folding uniforms, serving drinks, and talking to customers. She watched Marcus interact with his apprentices and the people in the community. Everyone admired him, not just for his skill with cars, but for his kindness and patience. Marcus treated every person with respect, no matter their background or situation. He was known as the man who never turned anyone away. Even those who could not afford his services were always helped. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Laura stood beside Marcus outside the garage. The golden light painted the shop in warm colors. "I don't deserve your kindness," she said quietly. "I was selfish. I left you with so much, and you did all of this alone." Marcus smiled gently. "Maybe you left so I could become the man I needed to be. And maybe you came back so you could see what love really looks like." Those words struck her. She had expected anger, resentment, or disappointment. Instead, she found forgiveness, patience, and a heart that had grown even stronger in her absence. The children were curious about Laura's return, but quickly realized that life had moved forward. They were no longer the small, scared kids who had cried for their mother at night. They were confident, loving, and proud of the father who had raised them. They didn't need their parents to be perfect. They needed love, and Marcus had provided it every day. Marcus continued to work at the garage, teaching young men and women the value of honest work. He encouraged apprentices to study, to dream, and to never give up, even when life seemed unfair. Laura often helped with small tasks, learning from Marcus's approach to life and work. She watched as he patiently guided the children, the apprentices, and even the customers. She realized that Marcus had built not just a garage, but a community. One morning, a journalist came to write a story about Marcus. He was curious why people traveled from far away to learn from him. The journalist asked, "How did you manage to raise 5 children alone and build a successful business?" Marcus paused and smiled. "I had love," he said simply. "I had faith. I had the belief that hard work and kindness will always find a way." Laura listened to the interview, tears running down her cheeks. She understood now that Marcus's life had not been limited by her absence. It had been strengthened. He had created a world filled with hope, generosity, and love. She felt pride, humility, and deep respect for the man she had once left. Evenings at the garage became times of connection. Laura joined the family for dinners, and laughter filled the air once again. The children shared stories about school, work, and life, and Laura finally felt the warmth of belonging. She realized that forgiveness, acceptance, and love could heal even the deepest wounds. Marcus continued his daily routine, fixing cars, teaching, and guiding his children. His heart remained full, not with bitterness, but with gratitude for every challenge, every hardship, and every day that had tested him. He had discovered that true strength is measured not by the hardships you face, but by how you respond to them. Laura began helping with the scholarship fund Marcus had started for local children. Together, they visited schools and offered support to students who couldn't afford college. She saw firsthand how Marcus had turned personal pain into community support, and she admired him more than words could express. One day, standing together outside the garage, Laura looked at Marcus and said softly, "You've taught me what love really is. I understand now that it's not about staying, it's about giving and being there, even when it's hard." Marcus simply smiled, knowing that the past could not be changed, but the future could be shared. The story of Marcus and his family spread throughout the town. People came not just for car repairs, but for hope and inspiration. Marcus became a symbol of perseverance, love, and resilience. Even those who had doubted him now admired the man who had transformed heartbreak into a life of generosity. And while Laura never went back to the past, she embraced the present. She witnessed Marcus's quiet strength, his unwavering love for their children, and his ability to forgive and inspire. She learned that family was not only about being together in perfect times, it was about showing up, caring deeply, and building something meaningful despite challenges. Marcus's life was a lesson for everyone who knew him. His story proved that love, patience, and determination could overcome even the greatest trials. He had turned his family's pain into a legacy of kindness, and in doing so, had created a life that no one could ever take away. Laura often watched him work, teaching apprentices and guiding his children. She saw the man she had left, now stronger, kinder, and more admirable than ever. And she finally understood that sometimes leaving can change nothing, but staying in love and commitment can change everything. The family thrived, not because they were perfect, but because they chose forgiveness, kindness, and strength every single day. Marcus's story became one of hope, inspiring everyone who heard it to believe in love, resilience, and the power of never giving up on family, even after 10 long years of separation. One man's unwavering dedication had brought them all back together in a way no one could have imagined, proving that love can endure, transform, and inspire for a lifetime.